All right, everyone, it's time for some very big news, which is, you remember that Pissgate dossier, the one that said, oh yeah, Donald Trump in Russia. He had the Obama's hotel room there. He had some Russian hookers come and piss on the bed, and he just sat. Then he went off to watch anime in pajamas surrounded by a bunch of naked women. That was the allegation. This was taken seriously by groups like CNN and the New York Times. It was widely reported on, and it was very well received by Clinton's fans. I can remember when they all said, oh, I believe it completely. Oh, of course it's true. Trump's a weird son of a bitch. Trump is a bigot and a racist, and he's connected with Russia, so it makes perfect sense that he would hate the Obamas because they're black. He just hates Obama, probably is crazy enough to think he's a Kenyan, and so he had a bunch of Russian hookers come in and defile the bed. Now, none of this was true. It was totally and utterly false. It was a fake dossier that was then apparently funded directly by the DNC and Hillary Clinton. Well, there goes your Russia narrative. See, the problem is we're seeing the breakdown in real time over the last 48 hours or so of the entire Russia narrative. Mueller diverts his attention away from Trump or anything Trump-related, now is going after Podesta's brother. John Podesta was the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. His brother, one step removed from the Clinton campaign, is being investigated for his Russia connections by Mueller. There's step number one. It's a little bit different because before everyone wanted to talk about how Mueller was going to get Trump knocked out. He was going to get him impeached. Trump will be gone soon. Mueller, he totally knows Trump is controlled by the Russians. There's problem one. Problem two actually technically happened a while ago, and that's the DNC kept shifting its leadership over and over. Donna Brazile herself making comments, oh yeah, well, we don't know 100% that it was Russia that leaked this DNC material to WikiLeaks. We're not 100% sure of this. We just speculate that that's the case. They won't even give the servers over to the FBI for analysis. I wonder why. So there's number two. Now number three is this. We find out this dossier that was already disproven anyway. They knew it was fake. They didn't know that the DNC was involved. A lawsuit now has been launched against the DNC and the Clinton campaign with the Federal Elections Commission. They're saying, hey, this violates election law pretty severely. This is absolutely wrong and underhanded. It turns out the scandal all along was that a bunch of info was leaked from the DNC, the Clinton campaign, Podesta's emails, stuff like that. And an attempt was made, a concerted effort was made to cover up the leak by blaming a foreign state. It made sense to choose Russia because there was already paranoia a little bit beforehand over Russia. Anyway, it's well, the Cold War is kind of back on. There are problems. Let's blame Russia. We'll blame Russian hackers because everyone's always talking about Russian hackers. Now, you might as well have just said Chinese hackers. You could have said North Korean hackers. The public largely would have accepted the explanation. Meanwhile, a lot of people in the swamp, the establishment, keep echoing the same fucking line about Russian hackers influencing the election. What do we find out was the extent of that influence? They bought some Facebook ads. Perfectly legal. You're talking about other people in other states buy Facebook ads all the time to sell products. What's the fucking difference? And they lie, and they say, oh, these would probably flip the election in Michigan and Wisconsin. Bullcrap, number one. Bullcrap, number two, because that wouldn't have been enough electoral votes to swing the election anyway. You would have needed a third state somewhere in there. So which other state did they supposedly target? These Russian hackers who spent 10 big grand on Facebook ads. You realize how little that is in the scope of things? We're talking about multi-billion-dollar presidential campaigns. You're fucking trying to tell me it got derailed by 10,000 in Facebook ads? Bullshit. Zuckerberg is lying through his teeth. He's just trying to play nice with the establishment that he honestly believes is going to continue to be relevant for the rest of time. That's honestly the only reason that he's saying that. What he really should do is come out, stab DC in the back and say, no, I had nothing to do with the election. Sure, other states can buy ads. You're full of crap if you think that $10,000 is going to swing an election. Maybe the Ugandan election. Maybe the Malawian election. Maybe an election in Cambodia, in some small backwards province there where there's no plumbing. Certainly not in a state like Michigan or Wisconsin or the U.S. election as a total. We find out this dossier not only was fake, and knowingly fake, like the people that were funding the document, they knew. This is a corroboration, by the way, of the DNC leaks yet again. Wasn't there an email in there that directly referenced doing exactly this? I wonder where they found out that this happened. Oh, so you're saying that the DNC leaks are real. That's funny because the DNC at first didn't acknowledge that. For a long time, they said, no, the emails aren't real, but they were stolen, so you shouldn't read too much into them. This is unethical because they stole our emails, but the emails aren't real. What are you talking about? There are people who notice the discrepancy there. Now, Podesta and Brazil and Hillary herself came out around the same time and said, oh, my Russia. The Russians are trying to destroy the DNC. The Russians took the election now. Doesn't this also, when you put all these together and you realize Russian involvement was basically non-existent, doesn't that mean Obama also lied through his teeth? Because he said, oh, yes, at the end stage of the election, we knew the Russians were trying to rig things and interfere with our election, but we figured that Hillary Clinton would win, so it wasn't a big problem. So we didn't do anything about it. We just didn't tell anybody. No, you know why? It's because Obama didn't want to have to mention all this bullshit. Obama's not, I think, a friend of the Clintons. I don't think they get along 100%. I think he'd get along with Trump, honestly, more than with the Clintons sometimes. He has a little bit more in common, oddly enough, in some ways with a Trump than he would with a Clinton. Clintons are big dynastic politics groups. Obama's half black, so he wouldn't be well received by Clinton's friends. Like, her circle of friends would look down on him anyway because his skin is darker. Of course they would. They're like the embodiment of, you think of like some South Carolina fucking plantation home with an old, very, very white, crackery woman who refers to everybody who is less white than her as the help. That's really what the Clintons remind me of, ultimately. She even regresses into that southern twang sometimes. Like, you know, I can play the Confederate game, says Hillary Clinton. I got hot sauce on me. Sort of like Obama when he's talking to Al Sharpton, but you get the idea. I'm ecstatic over this report because it turns out that things that were labeled conspiracy theories during the election or thereafter turned out to be true all along. Trump comes out as well today. Says, oh yeah, the Uranium One stuff is like Watergate 2.0. No one wants to investigate it. Oh, he's going to keep hammering that point home. Oh, he's going to keep hitting that chord until his fingers are so sore they start to fall off. Trust me on that one because that's a winning line. He is right. I mean, he's doing propaganda. It's obviously for basically a political reason that he's harping on it, but he is technically right. That's a big thing. The FBI is investigating some foreign firms. The president signs off on an energy transfer deal with them anyway, involving possible collusion between a bunch of Russian business people and Hillary Clinton's private foundation taking literally tens of millions in bribes to, I guess, support the deal. Don't you think that's a little bit substantial? A little bit more pressing an issue than, hey, Trump said something incoherent on Twitter, national outrage. I don't care what Trump says on Twitter. Nowhere near as bad as Uranium One. Tell me when Trump embezzles, $20-30 million. And I don't mean, oh, well, he's tried to make the Secret Service pay too much to guard him at Trump Tower. I'm not talking about that. I mean a real scandal. When he gets one of those in, he probably will. I mean, he's the president. Presidents tend to suffer through several scandals, even if they're kind of, sort of honest. Even a Jimmy Carter, you have problems. And Jimmy Carter comes out and is backing Trump now. I think I'm going to side with Jimmy. He's a better Democrat than the Clintons or the Obamas. It should have been their candidate. They probably would have won with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter could have had his second term if they had put him up against Trump. He's more coherent than a Clinton will ever be. He's got more youth appeal than a Clinton has. He'll say, hey, I still build houses. What's Clinton done lately? Essentially. It'd be funny. But the Pissgate dossier is fake, and it was, promulgated directly by the DNC. Now, the DNC said, we don't know anything about this. It must have been some low-level staffer was doing it. It wasn't okayed at any higher level. Bull crap. Because John Podesta, as far as I knew about it, and he was the campaign manager for Hillary's campaign, and he was in direct coordination with the DNC. Look, here's the big problem. Here's why they went so apeshit thereafter, after the WikiLeaks, DNC, and Podesta dumps, because they figured somebody investigating might put two and two together and figure out the scope of pure corruption. We found out already that the DNC was openly in coordination with Clinton before she was even the candidate chosen, when she was still going up against Bernie Sanders. They were openly negotiating with her to limit the debate schedule, pressure the Sanders campaign, divert funds he raised for the DNC to her eventually. They were doing all this shifty stuff. By the way, perfectly legal. They're a private corporation. A political party is essentially a corporate movement. It's not a political structure, it's just one that happens to encompass politicians. That's the only significance there. They can do whatever they want. They can discriminate all they want. They can say, we don't like this candidate because of their skin color, we're not letting him run. They don't have to let you run. They're a corporation, a private entity. People don't even understand this. They think that the party system has something to do with some deeply entrenched constitutional detail. No, they're business entities. They take money, they give money. They take favors, they give favors. They extort and bribe and kill. That's what they exist for. What, you think that we're so far removed from the carpetbagging days, back when candidates would literally shoot at each other? You think that we're far removed from that? No, they're just more quiet about it now because it's not considered as culturally acceptable. It's the only difference. When I see, thus, that the DNC provably attempted to promulgate a provably fake document that they knew was fake, they knew it was bullshit, and they deliberately tried to get it out there as much as possible to shame Trump by saying, yeah, he had like Russian hookers peeing on the Obama bed, and he did all sorts of weird stuff, and he Sieg Heils constantly, and does other weird things, like I guess goes into the bathroom. The 4chan addendum to this was that he would go into the bathroom, he would shit and call it Obama, and then start rambling in German or something, which was like, by the way, the visual of that would be pretty funny, but it's not real. The thing is, it made itself excellent satire because the content of the fake dossier is so over the top. Any sane person would have to sit there and say, well, how would Trump be a successful businessman if he's that warped? If he's really that bitter and insane, how on earth could he possibly accomplish anything in life? He'd be a night janitor at most. He probably would just be unemployed and dead under a bridge of a heart attack somewhere. That's the real truth. Meanwhile, the DNC is paying for it. The Clinton campaign itself is paying for it, and they're both denying it. And we don't know anything about this. You know, just ignore every bit of evidence in the world. Just ignore the fact that we made up a national security crisis to cover our ass when some rogue employee decided we were so dishonest and dicking around so much that they had to expose it to the world through WikiLeaks. Just ignore the fact that after years of praising WikiLeaks for exposing George W.'s crimes, we suddenly just declared that they were traitors and Russian agents and stuff. Ignore all that. Ignore Pissgate. Ignore anything pizza related, certainly. That's a conspiracy theory we dare not speak of. Ignore it all. You know, we did nothing wrong. We're just shining angels. You know, the other political component, you know, the RNC, they're corrupt as hell, do everything wrong, embezzle, and they suck corporations off. They kill people and they hate. They're full of bigotry and evil. They're like Satan incarnate. We're like Jesus Christ. By the way, the RNC does the same thing to the Democrats. Bullshit. Anytime something's that one-dimensional, it's propaganda. Please understand that. Written on the topic. It's so easy to understand. Whether it's a person or an organization, a group, we're so noble and wonderful. They're so evil and hateful, even though they're basically comparable and identical. But somehow we escaped that corruption despite having exactly the same methodology. Somehow we're great. They're evil. Bullshit. So when they come out and they talk about how wonderful they are, how the Democrats are for the poor, the Democrats are for the minorities, the Democrats are for the working man, the Democrats love the United States, the Republicans want to like tear it apart, especially Trump. You know, McCain's okay. They're buddy-buddy with McCain now. They're buddy-buddy, maybe kind of frenemies with Lindsey Graham. Everyone else, no, they're evil. Well, we want Boehner back, they say. We want Boehner back. The dude we made cry multiple times, who obstructed the entire government for 6 years, we want him back. We'd rather deal with him because Trump's so evil and insane. No, he's not. He's just willing to call it how it is, and he's not willing to filter himself through the media. He's willing to go on Twitter and lambaste you about Uranium One and Fusion GPS and everything else. Also, by the way, this verifies O'Keefe's work. Yeah, people were saying he was a liar. Oh, he got sued. Such a horrible person. Meanwhile, with that one dude who was working for the DNC, can't remember, it was Bob something, I think, and his employee. Didn't he resign shortly after the Veritas videos released? And wasn't that individual investigated for tax fraud and, you know, had to pay several $1 million? Yeah, he was. But remember, it's O'Keefe who's an evildoer. He's just a horrible person. No, I don't think so. I think he's one of the last true investigative journalists that exists. Yeah, he's going to get it wrong sometime. So did CNN when they said it was illegal to read WikiLeaks. So did the New York Times when it declared that Trump's now provably true statements about the Pissgate dossier were right. He was correct. He said, hey, the Democrats obviously paid for this and, they're the ones putting this out. Oh, this is a conspiracy theory, little Donald. Dangerous Don. This is, he's disseminating conspiracy theories. He's fracturing the country. This is divisive and purely wrong. Oh shit, he was right all along. We're sorry a little bit. Yeah, isn't that funny how that works? He was actually correct. I wonder how much more Trump's been right about. It gives me a little bit of hope, actually, to see this happen over and over. I'm overjoyed. I feel great. I can't wait till more updates on this story. I can't wait to talk about them all. I feel way more energetic when I'm talking about a topic like this. It's actually exciting. Because I think, maybe Donna Brazil will end up in a cell. Maybe Hillary Clinton will actually face some sort of legal repercussions for her constant corruption. Something, finally, no matter how minor, will happen to her. And she'll be behind bars for a week. She'll have to pay a fine. At the very least, go before an actual court. I don't care what it is. I just hope it happens. I don't care what the charge is. She's so corrupt, make any charge, it'll stick, as long as you're willing to investigate. And it looks like Mueller's going after Tony Podesta now, so yeah, that might affect her former campaign as well. Former and last. She's out of politics. Not going to run again. Stop saying glass ceiling this, glass ceiling that. It's never going to happen. That's about all. Peace out.